Fighting corruption is one of the cardinal pillars of the Buhari presidency. What is the latest regarding government efforts at recovering and repatriating Nigeria's assets?
Well, we have multiple assets that we are pursuing internationally, inclusive of the United States of America. And in that respect and direction, we have some other associated bilaterals. I hope to travel to DC by tomorrow, all in an attempt to see what we can do in terms of recovery of associated assets. But one good thing about the United Nations General Assembly is the fact that Nigeria as a nation, we are trying as much as possible to see what we can do in terms of building consensus associated with making things easy for claiming for, or indeed recovery of the looted assets internationally. We are building consensus in terms of driving resolutions and the processes and procedures associated with asset recovery. So while we are pursuing the recovery of the assets in their own right, we are equally trying as much as possible to see what we can do in terms of building consensus around making the process of recovery of looted assets easier locally and internationally.
So at this particular meeting, what's the impact you're hoping to make? You'll be representing the government and the...
Well, associated recoveries associated with looted asset is one of it. And in that direction, what I'm trying to say in essence is that as far as the General Assembly is concerned, we are trying to kind of gather international momentum associated with the processes and procedure in terms of making things easier for countries to recover assets with ease. So we are trying to create a consensus building towards the processes, towards the procedure, and towards a common understanding of how we can work together in making things easier in recovery sense.
How much have we been able to recover and taken back home so far, and how much are we looking at going forward?
Well, in terms of recovery, as you could rightly remember, at a point we recovered over 322 million US dollars from Swiss. That was around 2017, and then at around 2020, we equally recovered around 311 million US dollars from United States of America, and we have equally tried again to recover, I think, around 78 million pounds from UK associated with Malami OPL 245, and we are making some insignificant recoveries as well. But as far as the meeting I intend to attend in Washington DC by tomorrow is concerned, we are looking at the possibility of recovering further 200 million pounds among others. But then that does not mean to say that there are no other associated assets being pursued in the international, in terms of some other countries of the world, inclusive of Ireland and some other countries. We are pursuing a lot of assets across the globe, and we intend very soon to we are coordinating a further meeting relating to huge recovery in UK associated with certain personalities. But then I would like to give further disclosure and respect there too, taking into consideration the need not to be preemptive as far as our strategies are concerned.
Nigerians are highly expectant about the recoveries and how it's going to be put into the economy to shore up things economically and otherwise. So how do you just reassure Nigerians about this?
Well, I think the assurances are on the ground. The assurances associated with the fact that the $322 million earlier on recovered, while what was indeed deployed in the social investment program of the federal government, program that affects the program that was intended to empower people, particularly as it relates to earn power and associated programs, inclusive of trader money, inclusive of associated programs that have to school feeding programs as well. So in terms of touching the lives of the Nigerians, I think that 322 million naira impacted positively. And then if you are talking of the infrastructure as well, the fact that the $311 million that was subsequently recovered from Switzerland was indeed deployed in Abuja-Kano highway, Lagos-Ibadan highway, second Niger bridge, is a testimony to the fact that these monies being recovered at the instance of the federal government are indeed effectively and efficiently being utilized for the development of the nation, for supporting the poor, and indeed bringing about changes in terms of poverty eradication as a program of the federal government. So I think we are doing wonderfully well in terms of deploying recovery of the looted assets and deploying same in projects that impact positively on the lives of the people.
Recently, talk about arrest made of those allegedly financing terrorist activities in the country. Do you know the number of those in detention and the nature of the high-profile Nigerians?
Well, as far as that issue of terrorist financing is concerned, it's a work in progress. And indeed, I would like to be preemptive both in terms of investigation. But one thing I can say for sure is arising from such arrest, the terrorist funding and financing has indeed been crippled substantially, and that eventually translated to some major improvements being recorded as far as crippling the strength of terrorists is concerned within the nation. You can see visibly that we are indeed witnessing tremendous successes associated with the Boko Haram, which translate to significant dissemination of the Boko Haram terrorists. They have been decimated to a larger extent, to a larger degree. You can see what is unfolding as far as the Northwest bandits banditry activities are concerned as well. They are as well being decimated to a larger extent, to a larger degree. All these are indeed the effect of the effect of what we have done. We have succeeded in doing in terms of identifying the blocking the terrorist financing and funding. So as far as that aspect is concerned, we have succeeded, one, in identifying those that are responsible for funding, two, blocking the leakages associated with funding, and then three, embarking on aggressive investigation that is indeed impacting positively in terms of the fight against terrorism. So, but then the truth of the matter is that investigation is ongoing, is advancing, and for the purpose of investigation, I would like to be preemptive in terms of making disclosures that will have the effect of undermining the successes we are recording as far as investigation is concerned. But one thing I can tell you for sure, that whatever we do in terms of detention, in terms of arrest, is indeed backed by judicial process. We have indeed obtained legitimate court orders, taking into consideration what we have presented before the court. The court eventually exercised its discretion in terms of granting orders that we can have them in custody pending the conclusion of investigation, which investigation in essence is indeed deeply taking place, and we are making a lot of successes and recording a lot of progress in the direction of investigation.
Thank you, sir. Disagreement between some states and the FIRs over collection of the funds. What is the position of the federal government on this?
Well, the position of not only the federal government but indeed the judiciary is the fact that status quo associated with the collection of value-added tax should be maintained. And the status quo, as far as the core judicial system is concerned, is a status quo that, as at the time the parties approached the court, it was the Federal Revenue Service that was indeed collecting the value-added tax. So with that in mind, the federal government has succeeded in obtaining an order that establishes the sustenance of the status quo, which status quo is that the Federal Revenue Service should continue the collection pending the determination of the court, and pending the determination of the cases that are instituted by states, particularly the Rivers State government and the Lagos State government, and the cases are being determined by the court. But one thing of interest is the fact that the federal government had indeed taken cognizance of the fact that where there exists a dispute between state and the federal government, it is the Supreme Court that should naturally have the jurisdiction to determine the dispute between a state and the federation. And we are taking steps to consider the possibility of instituting an action before the Supreme Court for the purpose of having this matter determined once and for all.
What is the position of the federal government on the current judgment in favor of Sunday?
You see, as far as the federal government is concerned, it is about law. and it is about jurisdiction. When this matter is concerned, I mean, as far as this matter is concerned, which court is it that has the jurisdiction to determine it? And we are, as you rightly know, obedient to court orders and court judgment. But then you have to understand within the context of such obedience that there are associated rights and interests that are vested in the federal government, inclusive of right of appealing against a judgment, inclusive of right to file an application for setting aside the purported judgment and order, and indeed inclusive of the possibility of filing a fresh action if indeed the jurisdiction of the court that was alleged to have indeed handed down that judgment is in issue. So we are doing the needful in terms of looking at the law as it exists and then working within the context of the law in ensuring that justice is done as far as the contending issues between the parties are concerned.
Finally, sir, you've been relating with President Muhammad Buhari for a very long time. What do you think Nigerians do not know about him regarding his forthrightness, uprightness, and incorruptibility?
Well, as far as the president is concerned, a single perhaps sentence that can characterize him and his person is that of transparency and accountability. You cannot find the president in any way being compromised as far as transparency, accountability, processes and procedures are concerned. So he is a man of process, he is a man of procedure, he is transparent, he is accountable. That, I think, can characterize the personality of the president very well, taking into consideration his general disposition as far as issues are concerned, both governance, administrative and otherwise. You can never find him operating in breach as far as processes are concerned, as far as procedure is concerned, as far as transparency is concerned, as far as accountability is concerned. So he is an embodiment of transparency, an embodiment of accountability, and in fact, above all, an embodiment of integrity that has been acknowledged locally and internationally. Thank you.